Joseph was the youngest of a large family with 11 brothers. He was the first son of Rachel, Jacob's favorite wife, who had struggled with infertility for many years. Joseph was born in his parents' old age, being seen as a miraculous gift. Because of this, his father loved him more than his other brothers. The first public demonstration of this favoritism was the gift of a colorful and long tunic. Upon realizing this, the brothers began to hate Joseph to the point where they could no longer treat him with kindness. One day, Joseph shared a dream he had with his brothers. "I dreamed that we were binding sheaves of wheat, and my sheaf stood upright while yours bowed down to mine. I had another dream, in which the sun, the moon, and 11 stars bowed down before me." This only increased the brothers' envy and anger. Jacob also rebuked him, but kept the dream in mind, not knowing that it was a prophecy of what God had prepared for Joseph. Sometime later, Jacob asked Joseph to go to the field to check on his brother's work. When the brothers saw him from afar, they conspired. "Here comes the dreamer. Let's kill him and say a wild animal devoured him." Reuben the eldest intervened, suggesting they not shed blood. Instead, they threw Joseph into a dry pit, intending to leave him there until they decided what to do. While they were eating, they saw a caravan of Ishmaelites heading to Egypt. Judah proposed selling Joseph to the merchants instead of killing him, so they sold him for 20 pieces of silver. Then they dipped his tunic in the blood of a goat and sent it to Jacob, who concluded that a wild animal had killed his beloved son. Joseph, then 17 years old, was taken to Egypt, where he was sold as a slave to Potiphar, an important official of Pharaoh. Over time, Joseph gained Potiphar's trust and became the administrator of his household. However, one day, Potiphar's wife tried to seduce Joseph, and after being rejected, she falsely accused him of trying to assault her. Potiphar, furious, sent Joseph to prison. Even in prison, God was with Joseph. He soon earned the trust of the prison warden and was put in charge of the other prisoners. During this time, he interpreted the dreams of Pharaoh's cupbearer and baker, correctly predicting that the cupbearer would be restored to his position and the baker would be executed. Are you enjoying the story of Joseph and want to see more content like this? Then leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you feel inspired by Joseph and his victories despite the trials, comment, "I will overcome," down below. 2 years later, Pharaoh had 2 dreams that deeply troubled him. In the first, 7 fat cows were devoured by 7 thin cows. In the second, 7 full ears of grain were consumed by shriveled ears. None of Pharaoh's advisors could interpret the dreams, but the cupbearer remembered Joseph and recommended him to Pharaoh. Joseph was called before Pharaoh and said, "It is not I who interprets dreams, but God will give Pharaoh the answer he needs." Joseph explained that the dreams meant 7 years of abundance, followed by 7 years of famine. He advised Pharaoh to appoint someone to store food during the years of plenty, so that Egypt would not suffer during the famine. Impressed with Joseph's wisdom, Pharaoh appointed him governor of all Egypt, giving him authority over all the land and its resources. Joseph was 30 years old when he took on this position, and during the years of abundance, he stored large quantities of food. During the famine that followed, the lands around Egypt were also affected, including Canaan, where Jacob and his sons lived. Jacob sent his 10 eldest sons to Egypt to buy grain. When they arrived, they bowed before Joseph without recognizing him. However, Joseph remembered his youthful dreams and pretended not to know them. He accused them of being spies and kept them imprisoned for 3 days. Joseph then decided to test his brothers. He left Simeon in prison and told the others to bring their youngest brother Benjamin if they wanted to prove they were telling the truth. The brothers returned to Canaan, and after much resistance from Jacob, they returned to Egypt with Benjamin. Upon seeing him, Joseph was deeply moved but kept his identity a secret. He organized a banquet for his brothers, and before they left, he ordered that his silver cup be placed in Benjamin's sack. When the brothers were on their way, Joseph's servants caught up with them and accused Benjamin of theft. Desperate, the brothers returned to the palace, where Judah pleaded for himself to be punished in place of Benjamin, knowing that Jacob could not bear to lose another son. At that moment, Joseph could no longer contain his emotions. He ordered all the servants to leave the room and, crying, revealed himself to his brothers. "I am Joseph, your brother, the one you sold into Egypt. Do not be distressed, for it was God who sent me ahead of you to preserve your lives." Joseph forgave his brothers and sent them to bring Jacob and the entire family to live in Egypt. When Jacob discovered that Joseph was alive, he almost fainted from emotion, but traveled to Egypt with his sons, grandchildren, and all his possessions. When they were reunited, Joseph and Jacob wept and embraced for a long time. Jacob and his family came to live in Goshen, one of the best regions in Egypt, and there they prospered under Joseph's protection. Even after Jacob's death, Joseph's brothers feared he would seek revenge, but Joseph reassured them, saying, "The evil you intended against me, God turned into good to save many lives. Do not be afraid. I will provide for you and your children." If this story inspired you and you also want to overcome like Joseph, don't forget to comment, "I will overcome," so we can support each other. The lesson here is that even amidst betrayal and suffering, God can turn everything into victory, fulfilling His plans perfectly. Share this video and help spread this message of hope.